Hello, I'm Toypig, and who is expecting a giant desert update today? Because you would be relieved if so, because we have a brand new Bedrock preview and beta, which matches its Java counterpart by bringing big changes to both the desert and the badlands biome, as well as updating the firefly bush and adding so much more. You can finally say that there are hot chicks in your area and not actually be lying, but even more valuable than those are perhaps the new eggs that you can also find. They are plentiful at this point, and we're going to talk about all of that alongside the new cape that you can exclusively get in London, it looks like, in today's video, which comes to you in 4 parts. And so let's get a start with the What's New section, right after I remind you that you can subscribe to this channel to see more videos about the latest and greatest Minecraft updates, especially for the Bedrock version of the game. And usually I'm a cat and not a pig, but you know, I like the head. I also like this flag, which will come up after we talk about what this biome has. The easiest way to show you what's new is to show you the old desert. This is what it would look like if you generated in the current versions of Minecraft. You see cactuses and the occasional dead bush, but if you are to generate after this update, not only will you find more dead bushes because of the recent Minecraft Bedrock update, which will be coming out in the next week or two, but also you'll start to find brand new resources everywhere. The most visible is perhaps this, the cactus flower though, so let's talk about that first. This is a new type of flower which can generate in both the desert and the badlands, and you can place it onto a cactus block or any block which has a center support block. So this means that if you want to, you can place them around your world. It's a very pretty new flower, also great for finding holes in the ground, but also it's wonderful because you can use this in a composter, although you'd be much better off using it for pink dye because it can be crafted directly into that. Very, very wonderful if you do ask me. And what interestingly changes about this is because they can generate on top of cactuses, the top of cactuses are actually a variable height. This is a fully grown cactus as we know it now, and at the current day you'll see that every cactus will eventually grow this high, but after this update there is a 10% chance for a 1 to 2 block high cactus to generate with one of these instead, and a cactus will never grow past it, meaning you can find these very cute little single height cactuses. And honestly, I love that. I think this is a huge ambience improvement without actually having to do very much, which is what makes it so genius. We also have in this exact same update another piece of flowering that you'll recognize in the desert. It is a little subtle because it's the same color as the sand, but this is it right here. There are actually 2 variants. This right here is the short dry grass, and this right here is the tall dry grass. So both of these are 1 block high. I mean, I guess you could argue they're both fractions of 1 block high, but what's interesting is you can actually bone meal one to create the other. And like anything that can be bone milled and therefore is natural, you can throw both of them into a composter. That's right, this is really the composter update. Between this and the leaf litter, you can make so much bone meal. Wait, actually, make so much bone meal. That'll be handy, so I can use this bone meal to show you exactly what happens when you grow them. So small dry grass will become tall dry grass, and tall dry grass will expand onto other blocks with a small one. So in other words, every single bone meal used will get you half of a tall dry grass block, which is kind of cool. 2 halves makes a full, and a full makes another half. Very, very interesting and a great way to add some extra life to your desert. Also, as you can see, you cannot bone meal the ground right now. I hope that's something they will add. If you're curious, in any biome, when you bone meal the ground, you get something different. And in the interestingly, when you do it below water, it still gives you something, even when you're in the desert biome, but otherwise, you'll get nothing. Super, super interesting. Okay, so those are 2 big changes to the ambience of this biome, but we also have brand new chickens. So that is this week's big headline feature. That's right, hot chicks are in your area, but also, so too are cold chicks. So the best way for me to show you this is to find a place where we can find all 3 biomes. And funnily enough, this biome that I loaded up all these years ago to show off the stairs and slabs has this perfect opportunity to show the 3 biomes for chickens. So just like the frogs and indeed the cows and pigs before them, we now have new variants of chickens based on where they spawn. So I'm going to use a spawn egg to simulate this, but keep in mind it would work anywhere. Here is a chicken spawned in a cold biome. Here is a chicken spawned in a warm biome. And what does a chicken look like spawned in a regular biome? Well, this is the temperate chicken, as you can see, identical to how it is now. Except they had to do something really interesting as a response to the problem of the fact that chickens don't just breed by having 2 of them and breeding them together with seeds, but also they periodically drop eggs. So when you have, in the exact same vein that they've done the pigs and the cows, they've made it so that when you would normally breed an animal, it will be based on the parents, and so a chicken which lays an egg in a temperate biome should still give you access to a regular chicken if you are to throw those eggs in a desert. And so that's exactly what does happen, but then this raises the question of how do you get warm chicken eggs, And the answer is if they are running around, and I guess I could hatch enough of them until this inevitably happens, but as they're running around and trying to hatch their eggs, they will hatch eggs based on their colors. So brown eggs for brown chickens, blue eggs for blue chickens, and I could watch these and follow them around all day to prove that to you, but that's all you need to know for now. You also just need to know something really interesting that I would love to test, especially if we're getting a sheep update next week, is that apparently sheep will eat these grass pieces right here, and so you'll be able to actually keep a sheep fed in the desert, although it's going to be much harder than in a plains biome. But I love these sorts of tiny little features, and honestly I think that's a really cool example of what to add in just 1 week. We had a large set of features last week, and now we have a new set this week with the chickens, with the eggs. Actually, do you know what? I think I need to test this right now. I'm going to place a bunch of tall grass in a hole, then I'm going to get like 4 sheep in there, just a nice normal number. Then I'm going to shear all of those sheep, and we're going to see what happens. Look at all these sheared sheep right. Oh, the baby just ate the grass. Super interesting. You can't shear babies, but they can still eat your grass. So yeah, you'll now be able to feed sheep even while you're in a desert, which is cool. Although unlike regular grass, which grows back itself, this will have to be grown back by you, I guess. So interesting. Speaking of interesting, I'd love to talk about the British Minecon Cape, but first let's go into section 2 is about what has changed in this week's preview, and we'll start with what has changed with the Firefly Bush, because they have changed the model when it's held in hand, and they've also made it so that if the Firefly Bush can see the moon, you should hear an ambient noise. So let's listen for that. Yeah, you can just about hear it, right? Super interesting in my opinion. Speaking of super interesting, I do have to say that I decided to place 100 firefly bushes here, not just so I could hear them, but also so I could see the effect on the frame rate. If you see right here, even though it's a 1 pixel mob that comes out of it, our frame rate is hovering somewhere between 45 and 55, but if I leave the firefly bushes behind, you can see it stays at a steady 60, or 59.9 for 61.1. It stays in the area that it's meant to, which means interestingly, even as a 1 pixel mob, the firefly bushes are still causing some performance issues, which you might just notice if you're a particularly responsive player, and so maybe that's part of the issue with beacons right now. Speaking of issue of beacons, let's talk about Leaf Litter. You might have heard on Java that you can place this on the ground anywhere now, which is very lovely, I guess. Although personally, I think this falls into the issue that I have with eggs, that even though it's great to have lots of eggs in Minecraft, I'm sure this will increase the supply and lower the prices. You know, it's wonderful in this economy to have so many eggs, but I also think that it's worth mentioning that, yeah, having all of this clutter in the inventory is maybe going to be a bit of a downside. You're going to need more bundles than ever before, I guess you could say, but at the very least, they are all at least making fairly nice things. Speaking of making nice things, Mojang have made these different warm and cold animal variants, and now they've also added the animal variant tag to the appropriate biomes, which means, in other words, if you want to spawn a mob here via non-spawn egg means, let's say you use the summon command, it will now actually spawn the correct mob in those biomes. This is something that's really cool, and it also kind of hints that, yeah, if there are going to be hot and cold mob variants, it's now going to be a step easier for them to do that, which, you know, maybe makes you think, wouldn't it be great if this guy had some variants too? He's the last of the kind of OG passive mobs. Would be very interesting. Not as interesting as adding new bears, don't get me wrong, but we have one last change to mention, and that is this list of brand new creative tips. This was found by Smokey Stack, who data mined the code, and he's as you can see right here, it shows the messages, things like, did you know you can double tap A, or jump twice to fly, but also you can summon mobs in an instant with spawn eggs. But I want to point out some very interesting ones. One is that crossbows need ammo, add some arrows to your inventory before going hunting. Okay, that sort of makes sense, although not for creative. But really interesting is villagers are great at building villages, think you can do better. Okay, kind of like that too. But then there is this really dark one, at least in my opinion, which mentions that you can't die, but villagers can. Use that information wisely. Man, I think this is nuts. I think this is very fun, and it's one of those tiny improvements that some developer at Mojang clearly had some fun making, and I'm glad that they did personally. I also love the idea of goat horns being something you'd use in creative, or making roller coasters. Hopefully for new Minecraft players, these are useful, but yeah, if you've ever wondered, when you leave and quit a game, or when you go into it, oh look, We found a new bug, by the way. But when you leave or quit a game and go into it, you get these little tips as you go into that game. So here's this one saying, do you have a great idea for a new feature? Tell us on our feedback site. But if you're in the base game, it will tell you now that you're going to be able to move through solid objects using spectator mode. Or that who needs tools, you can punch your way to success and remove blocks instantly in creative mode. Lots of fun such examples. Anyway, now it's time to talk about Minecraft's live event in London. Wait, do you see that? When you press start, the shield gets laid down in front of you for some reason? Super, super interesting. How does that even happen? Why would pressing start change anything? Pausing Minecraft officially pauses the shield now. The shield decides to take a break too, and honestly, it's earned it. The last in-person Minecon was 2016, and ever since then, there hasn't been a real in-person gathering for Minecraft fans. Given that it's been almost a decade, that is a bummer, and it was going to end when they created Minecraft Festival, but they decided to have the first year be in 2020 in Florida, and so let's just say that didn't go very well. But what did eventually happen is Minecraft released this experience concept where you can go into an event that is ran by a third-party company where you can experience Minecraft in real life. It's not quite a convention, but it is a fun thing to do if it happens to be near you, and so for people who lived in Texas, that was great. You could get your hands on the official Minecraft Experience cape, but that's why it's so exciting that Minecraft Experience has now come to a much better place. No offense, Texas, but it's officially in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, specifically the one city where everything happens over here. That's right, the Minecraft Experience is coming to London. Specifically, it's coming to Corner, Canada Water, which sounds fake and also won't show up if you try to search it on Google Maps, because apparently it's a brand new building which is opening at the exact same time as the Minecraft Experience. Super, super hyped to have a Minecraft Experience, not just in my country, but in my city, and so you better believe I'm going to be there on the first day. And then this raises the question, one, of like, oh, that's going to be cool. Should we do something with that as a community here? But also, two, will you be able to get a brand new cape? Well, in the first camp on the side of, oh yeah, of course you will, when Minecon moved from city to city, they didn't mind having new Minecon capes. There's not just one Minecon cape, there's one for every single year, for every single city. But on the other hand, the Minecraft Experience clearly is going to be opening multiple times per year. So will it be one cape forever, or one cape per year perhaps? Even in that case, I guess it's still another year to 2024. So there's a few questions about this, but also you could say, isn't this basically Minecraft selling capes if you have to travel the world and go to the experience to get them? But you could also argue the exact same thing was true for Minecon, and also they were very willing to, before community backlash, actually just sell you a cape for buying some merch, and so I think that it's quite likely, unless they changed their policy recently, that the Minecraft Experience in London will have a unique cape, and so you better believe that means I'm going to be going to it. I'll be honest, I'd be going without the cape. I think it's cool to finally be able to go to this. I almost went through like an 11-hour detour to be able to go to the Minecraft Experience, so it's cool to know that I'll be able to make it there in substantially less than that amount of time. I mean, you know, Canada Water isn't that far from central London, so you better believe I'll be there, and if you'd like to be there too, we'll work out something as a channel. They are going to be selling tickets starting on Valentine's Day, and so, I don't know, the first day that it's out, maybe there'll be something fun involved with that. We'll have to wait and see, but for now, the pricing, for anyone curious, is going to be £20 if you are a child, which is aged 3 to 15. It's going to be £24 if you are an adult, and £54 for the Obsidian package. What is the Obsidian package? I've got lots of questions, but for now we don't have answers, but what I do have is the conclusion. That's right, this has been a very good preview for the update theme so far. The Spring Drop clearly is about polishing the world, and they are sticking to their theme of making these minor changes, and although at first a part of me is so cynical about how purely visual these seem to be, you've got to admit the differences are stacking up. Across all of these different biomes, there are so many stark differences between how they look to us and how they look afterwards, and I think it's going to be one of those things like the texture update where, sure, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal at the time, but the end result is going to be so worthwhile, and this is a great example of what the drop system could be good at. I think I would be disappointed if they spent an entire year working on just polish. That doesn't seem like it's worth it to me, but I think 3 months is the right amount of time and allows them to have a real focus on this before moving on to the next focus for the summer update. Really fun concept, and I also think it's cool that the desert update that was accidentally teased years ago and has been thought about ever since has sort of come to the game. Although, I guess we actually still don't have sand layers. or the camel table actually. Probably for the best though, given how many new items there are to pick up already just in this update right now. With that said, I hope that you choose to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos, and also check out the add-on video from yesterday. There are guns in Minecraft if you have the right add-on now, and you better believe that when our teams, IBX Toy Maps, Boss Blitz add-on comes out, we will be taking it on with guns. I just have to know, how much easier does it get? Anyway, that is going to be less than 2 weeks till it comes out, and speaking of less than 2 weeks, I think that the predictions for the next little wave of this spring drop are clearly going to be a new variant for perhaps the sheep, maybe the bear or the fox or something. I think that we're also likely to see something going on with the the firefly bush maybe coming to the mangrove swamp. That would be cool, and it's going to be very curious to see if this stays behind an experimental toggle, because as of right now, the second preview for this update, we still have to enable a toggle, which means that the spring drop won't be coming in this update, which would be very curious if true. So we'll keep an eye on that, but otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.